Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Hands Across the Water. There's a few comments in already. I think this is going to be a bit of a tasty show. Another bad result for Rangers, but joining me to chat about it all is our Scott from Not Another Rangers podcast. Mate, thank you very much for coming on late stage because Baz obviously he had a few things to do, and thank you for coming on this late stage, mate, to join me.
No bother, no bother. I would say I was looking forward to it, but that's an understatement. But I thought we'd come on and give you a hand. Didn't want you to do it yourself.
I didn't want to see it's all about the therapy. You need all us birds need to be together, don't we, in these bad times. But
Yeah,
okay, though. But thank you for coming on. Appreciate it, mate. As I say, there are a few things to talk about today. Even more news today. Of Rangers have given us news on a man that's been booted out before he even got in the door. But we'll chat about that later as well. What was your first sort of thoughts then, Scott, from watching the match and stuff? Made a bit of a drab performance, wasn't it? There was just nothing much in that Rangers team, was there? And we sort of know this. We've been kicking the can down the road a wee bit, but I think all the problems were all laid bare really yesterday, weren't they?
I was there yesterday, William. I mean, I got to all the home games, some away games, but all the home games, and I don't really expect much anymore because I know what these players give you. I know what they can't give you, and I was still expecting us to win. But I said before the game, I thought this is going to be tight. It's going to be a struggle because I knew Falkirk would be well disciplined, and we struggle playing against well disciplined team, no matter who it is. Somebody who's got a bit of structure, we struggle. And that's what happened. We couldn't really create anything. The chances we created we didn't take, and then left ourselves, opened it back a few times. A couple of the boys played okay, but the majority of them are just going through the motions, aren't they? They're not really offering much, to be honest with you. And I don't see a light in the tunnel. I'm just hoping when January comes, we bring a few players in, William. But January to me is never the best month to buy players. But I'm just hoping we can find at least two, at least maybe three gems who can come in and improve our team, because I don't think it'd be hard to get somebody to improve a team, to be honest with you, but I think we do need something new.
Yeah, they definitely need something. As I say, we put a poll up there uh last week. I basically just asked on our podcast, what does people think this is maybe the worst Rangers team we've had since we've came back up on into the Premiership. We've seen the Warburton teams, we've seen the Pedro teams. So I know it's easy to say this is the worst, but for me, I think this is it's up there. But I put up a poll anyway, and I think the last time I looked, there was 400 and odd had voted on it, and 97% had said this is the worst team they've seen in the Premiership. I don't know if you'd agree with that or not, Scott.
I think it's up there. Pound for pound signings, it must be the worst considering what other teams have cost to this team, but I know money changes and stuff like that and the players get more expensive, but I have to say some of them struggle. We struggle in the Warburton team, never mind this team, so I think it could be up to I think it could be up there with one of the worst teams we've got pound for money wise.
It definitely must be one of the worst, Scotty, for creating chances at least, because even though we've seen the Pedro teams were poor, we know that the Warburton teams were poor, but they created chances. Do you know what I mean? They didn't always convert them, and maybe you were losing 3-2 and you were losing whatever. The defenses were poor as well. But I don't think I've ever seen a Rangers team that's so boring, that just cannot create anything. I wrote in our group, the WhatsApp group before, because we all watch the match in the big shed down in the house, and we all met up before the game. And I messaged everyone yesterday before we had actually get down, and I says to them, "Here's me, lads. Here's me. This is going to be shit again." And everyone, "Oh, there's Willie. Here he comes." Right in the chat. Flip me. We haven't even started yet, and here's me. It's going to be the same old nonsense. Here's me. We'll not create much. Here's me. We'll need Butland to probably save our arses. Here's me, and we might, if we're lucky, bungle one over the line. And so after the game, we got home. Here's me. I told you. So I just same message I put in earlier and hit a full stop. And here's me. Told you, lads, the same thing. But isn't it terrible that you're going into matches thinking like that, Scott? It's as if they've just sucked the life out of us.
They have, and listen, we all know what this team offers. We've seen it long enough. We all watch it with our own eyes, and we all know what they can and cannot do. But even though we were poor yesterday, we still had enough opportunities. No, it wasn't many to get the 3 points. Do you know that way? We still created enough chances. The problem with the players is it low in confidence? Is it a fear factor? Is it not willing to take a risk? But for me, nobody wants to go that way. Everybody wants to sideways or backwards because they all want to play safe because they don't want to make mistakes. Nobody's wanting to take a risk in case they get criticised. I don't really know where the manager goes. I think he can chop and change William, but I still think no matter who he plays, you're going to get the same because that's the way the squad mentality is overall. I think just the full squad don't play with any aggressiveness. They're a very non-risk average footballing team, do you know that way? He's improved defensively, we have improved even though injuries because you can see that. And I thought Fernandes yesterday was really good for what he had to do. I thought Giga's still a bomb skater to be fair, but I thought Fernandes looks like he's improving game by game and hopefully the lad does get more game times. I think there's a player there, but middle to front, we're awful. We're actually awful. Nobody wants to beat a man. Nobody wants you to play a ball in and just take a risk and say, I'm whipping this ball in. Hope something gets on the end of it. Nobody's making the runs. You seen it yesterday, Falkirk was set up very structured in the way they were disciplined at the back and in the middle and they were just set up in a way. But then Barami gets the ball, William, and he runs in a straight line and Falkirk are like that. Shit, what do we do? And you have to bring him down. It's like, because we changed it, it's because we always go full back, centre back, full back, middle of the park, back again. But Barami just gets a ball running in a straight line, and Falkirk were confused because we'd done something different, even though it's basic stuff. And that's what we don't do enough. He was the only one yesterday who was willing to try and beat a man and put the ball across or take a shot because there was nothing coming from anywhere else.
No. Just quickly before we move on, Arsenal and what was that? Arsenal 25 RFC. We are the people. Thank you very much for becoming a member. I really, really appreciate that. Just quickly before we move on, if anyone does become a member, I'll just put up wee picture. Well, I'm wearing one of the t-shirts here myself, so we're going to give it a t-shirt. For do like a wee raffle between the members, and we're going to give different, we think, bottle openers. So every month it's going to change. So anyone does become a member, you have a chance of winning. Well, at the minute we've got white and blue of all different ones, but you just put a few of these pictures up just so you have a chance of winning one of these, whatever size you want. The wee red hand in the back, of course, we had to. The wee red hand has to go on the back, but that's the wee t-shirts and stuff if any is want to become a member. But thank you for doing that, mate. I really appreciate it. Bajrami, he's one Scotty when you think last season, he was one of the ones we would have went, nah, he just hasn't got it. And he came on yesterday, mate, and a player hasn't had much game time. He looked fitter than everybody else on that was wearing a blue shirt. Apart from Bart, I don't want to get Bart too much because he tries his best to be fair to him, and I really have to say it. And that's that Scottish spirit that I love. Same as the Ulster Birds. If you're a Rangers man from here or from Scotland, and you've got that blue shirt on, you give everything. I would rather see the likes of Barron playing, mate, even though he mightn't be the best on paper. But at least he's giving you effort. And there's a lot of players that don't give you that. And it was good to see Bajrami doing that. Maybe trying something different. But it's a sad state of affairs when the likes of Bajrami's the one you're looking towards, when last season you'd have been saying he's one of the ones needs to go. That shows you how bad the recruitment's been.
Well, the recruitment's been awful, and it's not just last season, it's been the last few seasons. And it's probably been, even when Gerrard was there, the recruitment wasn't the best. There's always a lot of players who bring in that don't seem to the standard we require. But I think at the end of the day, it's just about players going out in the park and giving 100%. See if somebody goes out and gives it all and tries, and you think, well, we were unlucky or we were trying, but we just didn't put the ball in the net, stuff like that. I watched, I don't know if you watched the on the podcast all week, and he was saying when he came to Scottish football, he found it quite difficult adjusting because he didn't realise the pace and the speed of the game and the physicality compared to down south. I think that's what a lot of players are struggling with at the moment, especially Asgard. But he says at the end of the day, when you play for a club like Rangers, I know he came as winning a championship, he says, but the fans appreciate you running your bollocks off and giving 100%. They understand if you're not playing well, but if they see you trying, they're a bit more sympathetic. But it's when they see you trying, it's like you get it in the neck. And he made a good point because Wycombe wasn't the greatest, but he put shifts in at times. He did score a few goals, but he realised when his time was up, and I think it was Pedro that did him. But we just want players to go out and somebody mentioned it in the comments, I think it was Nicholas, just saying some of the players on the breaking sweat, and I know they're going through the motions. They're going through the motions again because they're in that way. It's like you just go back to what they do every game. It's just simple pass it, play safe, don't want to take a risk and think somebody else will do it for them, or somebody else will make the difference. And that's not happening. Last season we had Cherney, we had Dessers, we had Diggerman, 3 guys who could do things themselves to make a goal or create a goal. This season we don't, so we're relying on other players like Raskin, who's not been doing it, Diomande, who's not been doing it, and I think that's shown up their weaknesses compared to last season, because last season Cherney created a lot, Dessers created and scored a lot, Diggerman came on and done really well. So I think you take these out, the 3 forward players they've signed are poor, to be fair. There's not a striker between, we're not signing with Danilo, but the 2 we've signed always Miovski and Jamaica. I think if put the 3 together, you would struggle for a decent centre forward. So we're asking guys to create who are struggling. Ant-Man struggled badly. Gisama, to me, is just a one-trick pony. He does that cut back all the time, William, but he can't finish, can't he not? I mean, it was the exact same chance that it was during the week, and they missed both of them. Do you know that way? So I think some of it's down to confidence, but some of it's just down to ability, and some of it's down to some of these players just aren't good enough. No matter the manager, some of these players aren't good enough.
Yep. Just thank you, CJ and I, because he's always on chatting in, and you've now become a member. So thank you very much, mate. I really appreciate that, buddy. And you'd also be like everyone else in the wee draw for a T-shirt. So thank you, mate. You're right, Scotty. Is what and it's so frustrating because people's putting so much effort in to go and watch that team, and we've seen there yesterday, mate. I think it was like I'm going to guess, by 30,000 there, maybe a wee bit more. Plenty of empty seats. People's starting to find other things to do, or just sit in the house and going, "Fuck, I stick a heating on it and watch it." Because I think it's because they're not seeing the effort being put in on the pitch, and they're like, "Well, why am I putting the effort in to pay all this money to go and watch the team?" And you made a good comment. I'm going to make a comment here. Do you remember the likes of Fashion Sakala, the likes of Sibo, all these players that but we loved them because they were like, even though they made mistakes, we're like, "Fuck, they try." He man's run his legs off of it, and Rangers fans back players like that. Always, I think that's I'm just thinking of all the likes of Nacho Novo was another one. Dado Perjo, they're obviously a better standard than the ones I'm talking about before, but they were again. Everyone loved Dado Perjo because he just never stayed died, and even though there was weeks where they weren't great, at least you knew they were always putting it up. Every week coming out with bandages in their heads and everything. And we just don't have that nice Scott. So we don't have it anywhere on the pitch, and it's very frustrating.
There's not a lot else you can say. It's frustrating as hell, but there's not a lot us fans can do apart from to be moan, to be look for a scapegoat. Which I mean, there's three guys who have caused issues have been sacked, in my opinion, but they've caused a lot of damage. The 3 of them, with the recruitment drive, with the manager before, and I know I said to you before we come on, Daniel always been getting a bit in the neck, but I don't think it's anything to do with Daniel. You can maybe criticise his team selection or his substitutions, but when you look at his squad overall, I don't think, no matter who he played, I think you're going to get the same performance, because I think it's spread through the full squad. Yeah, there's going to be guys he's going to have to rely on, because you can't replace the full squad in the January window or even in the summer. So there's going to be ones he's going to say, I need to trust him in the future, or there's going to be ones he says he can't trust. And also, when people forget, because of sports science nonsense, and I'm not a fan of that, but you've got guys behind the scenes telling you, right, like maybe Mahomes played that many games for young guys, not played that same amount of games last season. He's in the red zone, so he can't play him maybe the next few games, and that's why Aiden's been brought in. I'm just surmising, because I know this happens in football. You're told that a player's in the red zone, you can't play him the next game, or you can only play him 20 minutes here. So you don't know if that's why he's been left out, and Aiden's been brought back in, who to me is just an awful footballer, especially at left back. He just doesn't know what he's doing. He cuts inside constantly. He didn't give Barami any support yesterday at all. But I think there's a lot of different stuff going at Danny Rose. Can't control it at this moment in time. It's not his squad of players. There's stuff off the field, and he's been brought in to try and get results. And fair play to him, he has. He's not lost a league game yet. Granted, we drew against Falkirk, which is poor, but he's still, and defensively we have improved, even though that's not everybody wants to hear. But offensively, he knows himself for struggling, and he'll probably tell you that if he was truthful. But when you look at our squad and you look at it there, who does he put on? I mean, people keep saying Cameron, barring Barami. But if he plays, you still get the same players round about. You still get the same further forward. They're not going to suddenly turn into world beaters just because you've just changed 2 or 3 positions. Do you know what I mean? You might get more effort for
Yeah,
these guys, but it's not going to improve this team to be going to run a winning games. So I think
yeah,
no matter what he does, he's banging head against a brick wall until he gets another few players in it. Maybe can support what he wants to do and believe in his ethos. Whereas now, no matter what he says to these guys, and we're all saying that attitude stinks, you need to give more. You know yourself, William, if your boss says something to you, it's up to you to do it. It's not up to your boss if you do
yeah,
it. So I think
yeah.
some of these players are taking on instructions, then going into a part and thinking, sod that, I'll do it my way. And that's what it seems. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, this is a very because this is actually one I was thinking about today. So Embry Burr says my son used to watch the game till we can see, then he go back to his PlayStation. Now he doesn't even start watching, just gets notifications on his phone. We're losing the next generation. Now I was thinking about this today in the car, no joke, and I was like, right, see when I was growing up, Scott, I don't know about you, right? I was on there's a where I live, big place called the Green, right in the middle of our state, and I had all the Rangers shirts like everybody else. I had the red hair. I was in the generation of George Alberts, so I always thought when I was playing left foot George Alberts, someone thinking that, and I'm sure you had players of you, but wanted to put your shirt on and wanted to pretend you were on the thing. Who does these young ones now out of that squad? When they look at the last few years, like who are they put when they put their shirt on? They're playing with their mates. Is anyone going to be saying, "Okay, I'm Asgard today," or "I'm this," or "I'm that"? It's there's nobody there that they can aspire to, or nobody there that even lights to give the young ones something exciting to go and watch.
Oh, there's not anybody. The young ones nowadays will probably have Cole Palmer on the back of their jersey or Haaland, something like that. I'm not even mention the Rangers players, do you know that way? It's just the way football is. But I think some of these players, they're maybe talented players, William, but when they came for different leagues, and then maybe I watch all English football, especially the Championship, and it is technically quite a good league to watch. There's a lot of decent teams down there, a lot of decent footballers, but they can get the ball and they can have time on the ball. But up in Scotland, you don't get that time. It's a different game altogether, as Martin Waghorn mentioned. But as we all know ourselves, you're not playing against the same guys, technically as gifted as you, but you're playing against guys who work harder than you, who want it more than you, and who are more aggressive than you. And unless you're willing to put a fight in, you're going to look pretty awful. And that's what players like Asgard, Rothwell, Aarons, Jigger to a point are doing. And they can all come out and apologise or say they'll get better. That's fine. Like, I mean, it took Mark Hale over a season to settle into a team. But the difference is we had a good team. And that's my problem with selling, buying something like Trimity. That's great buying a boy that for £8 million when you've got a good team that you can probably have similar to, I'm not saying with a great team, but when we bought Agaman, we didn't throw him straight in. Come on, give him time. Off Park, he trained with the team, he trained on his own, he watched the team and stuff. So he learned a lot before he get chucked in. Shamity's just been chucked in. The boy's not scored a goal in years. The boy's hardly played a lot of football yet because his price tag, we think he's world beater. But he isn't. He was never going to be. It was the wrong signing for us because it was the wrong time to sign him. If he won the league last season with a squad of players who were fighting for stuff every season, you could say potentially he's a good signing. We can leave him, we can blend him in, take him out, and get him used to the way we play over the next 46 months. But chucking this boy in, who's hardly kicked a ball for 2 years, just because he cost that much money, was an awful signing. It was a
Aye.
sackable signing in my estimation. But that's no Chermiti's fault. That's the people who bought him. And that's, I mean, we don't have a squad with enough guy leaders in it to help these young players either. A leadership Tavernier still involved. And to me, Tavernier's been at Rangers too long, and there's people saying he's been a new contract. And I still ask that question, why? And people will probably say, but he's still been our best player. And I'll say that's the reason is because the recruitment's been poor. Because at the end of the day, he still shouldn't be our number one fullback. But he is just because of how poor recruitment is. So down the years, we've got a lot of catching up to do off the park, but especially on the park. But William, this could take not just next season, but the season after. But I don't want to keep changing managers because every time you change a manager, you go back to square one again, makes that manager doesn't fancy
Yeah.
the players the previous manager brings in. But you don't want to keep a
Yeah.
manager who isn't good either, so you're kind of a double-edged sword. Where do you go?
I know. I know it's true. It is. It's true, mate. It's like I says to the lads yesterday we were watching the match yesterday. I don't even care if this manager's shite. Just keep someone for 2 years and see where it goes. I'm sick of this every October, but it's even earlier this time. Anyway. But yeah. But I get what you're saying. Just quickly, so we'll go into this here, Scotty. So who are we trusting to identify these January transfers? Robbie Thelwell, who hasn't been involved in one single successful transfer. I don't think. I think we actually seen the start of the domino effect of him getting the sack, because there's been another one that let me try and think of the name. Jonathan Hunter Bard, he won't be joining Rangers. The guy came in, or was meant to be coming in on January, so he got the boot before he even got a chance to get through the door. So I doubt it's going to be him doing it. But who do you think it will be, Scott? Do you think it's Danny Rose obviously going to get more of a say here, or who do you think will be doing most of the recruitment in January? That's a hard one to answer, because there's not many there, and there's not many being trusted, obviously, because you can see that he's trying to Andrew Connor's trying to get guys out the door.
I think we're trying to get guys out the door. I think the boys just signed for England. I think every one of them is signing from England. If we want them to go back to England, we may have to take a hit on some of them. But I think Asgard, the Rothwell, will still have the teams in England who think they're worth a punt because of what they've done down there previously. So they'll get clubs again down there. Recruitment wise, Danny Rose might be bringing in somebody else into an analyst, but he's only 22-year-old from the gym second league. I don't know if Danny Rose get players in mind. I don't know if he's been asking about. Obviously, we'll have players maybe we've targeted before, but if I don't think Danny Rose, if doesn't want them, then there's no point in bringing these guys in. But you need to bring in others, and it doesn't have to be young players. It doesn't have to be somebody on this poor trading model, because I think everybody seems to be concentrating on that. See, bring someone a bit older who's just got a bit of experience, even for a year and a half, just to go in the park and give the players a shake and say, listen, this is how you do this is how you do that, and get McGinnis, because you're not getting the leaders. Raskin's struggling really badly. I think he will be away, but I think it might be in the summer. Diamandi's struggling as well, William, and I like him, but he's very frustrating. He struggles. I think he needs help middle of the park. Connor Barnes has looked really good, but he's got his limitations as well. Lyle Cameron hasn't had a chance, but he has been injured. He's had personal issues, so you don't know if he's going to start anytime soon. Finlay Curtis has been injured as well, so that's what I mean about sports science thinking these boys have been injured, and maybe telling the manager, right, you can be on the bench, but you can maybe only play 15-20 minutes. Because I was listening to a podcast with Tim Sherwood, and he was saying when he was a Spurs manager, a boy came up and said, you have to take him off because he's in the red zone. And Tim Sherwood's answers was, get the fuck, don't speak to me again, and blah, blah, blah. And Tim Sherwood didn't last long at Spurs after that, but it just shows if a manager's told to sub somebody or take somebody off because of this red zone nonsense, that's going to interrupt what they're trying to do as well. So there's a lot behind the scenes we don't know anymore because of sports science and stuff like that. So I think I think he will have his own ideas of who he wants in. But it depends, like I said earlier on, William, to somebody else. Rangers at the moment aren't a big fish anymore. We're not this eye-catching thing. It's like there's been players out there thinking, hey, that's Glasgow Rangers. Maybe I might have went there a couple of seasons ago, but this moment in time, they're a bin fire. I want to go up there and damage my career, and I go somewhere else. So it's getting the players who want to come, and it's getting the players who we think can improve. There's not just point in buying somebody for the sake of buying somebody. They have to be better than what they've got, which, to be honest with you, at this moment in time doesn't look like it's going to be hard. And have to fit an ethos away who wants to play. So that's two things, and it just depends what market we shop in. I mean, I wouldn't go back to England. There's good players in England, but I think we've shopped it enough to see it's not working for us. But if you go abroad, it could take some of these lads more time to settle than others because they're coming from other leagues as well. They might hit the ground running, they might not, but every signing's a gamble, no matter if it costs 50 pence or 10 million quid. Every signing is a gamble. But we do need bodies in, but we need bodies out, William, as well. Because a lot of players sitting in the stands at Ibrox doing sod all, getting a lot of money every week for no reason.
And there's plenty of staff and players that are out the door and still getting paid as well. And they're not even there. It's just crazy, isn't it, mate? But seems a lot of comments there about Sterling. A few different people. For me, now hopefully if he stayed fit, great. But the problem is trying to keep him fit. But for me, just going by with the player we've seen, Sterling's probably our best right back. probably would say, I'm talking about at the minute, he'd be our best right back. He'd be our best left back. He'd probably be our best centre back, and he'd probably do a lot better than what Atman does right wing. What I've seen from him, and probably put a bit more effort in midfield. But so he's a bit of a bit part player. He's a jack of all trades, but he's a good player, Scotty. But the only problem is keeping that big guy fit. And Curry there saying about but no Sterling as well of a worst player in the 2 bounce games. And I did hear that he's had a couple of shockers, but he has been out for a long time. It's going to take a long time. Do you think would it be a silly mistake from Roll to throw him in? Maybe if they're panicking to try and get wins, throwing him in too early, or what do you think?
I think it's too early for Sterling to come back. I think that's a panic move. I think he could come back in and get injured, or he could come back in and just cause a few more errors. To be honest with you, Sterling to me, not one of these players I would like to get rid of, just because he's been injured too long. I'm fed up signing players who spend more time in the treatment room than they do on the park for us. And no matter how good he has been at spells, he's been poor as well. And but he said he's a warrior, but he gets injured far too much for me. And I do quite like him when he plays well, but it's not been often enough for him. And to me, I wouldn't, if his contract's got an end, he's another one I would just say all the best. We'll see you later on. But I don't know when it ends. I think he's still got another year, maybe a year and a half. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he's got more on his contract. But he's one of these guys, but he could come in and play well, he could come in and get injured, or you just don't know. I mean, we're looking at other players on the side, but we still get players out on loan as well, haven't we? Matondo's back, and I heard somebody saying earlier, Matondo can give you something that you've not got. But what's that? Because we've seen him before. And apart from that goal against Celtic, which get put a goal of the season for us and a draw, what has he really offered us as well? Do you know what I mean? For some reason, players who are out on loan or players who are out injured, they improve. They get better in people's eyes, but they don't. It's just because they've been missing for so long, you suddenly think these guys are better players than what's on the park. In reality, they're not. They're just probably roughly the same.
Well, what do you think of the whole? A lot of supporters are wanting Scottish the more Scottish players in that are sitting on the bench. Now I know the likes of Lyle Cameron. We haven't seen enough of him, but if you look at just the stats in the league, Scott, for Dundee last season, I think he got Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year. I think he scored 9 goals from midfield. I think he had quite a lot of assists. We are a team that can't create and doesn't score many goals, especially from midfield. Is it worth throwing the likes of them on, Scott? And even if, I'm not saying we're going straight away, you put Lyle Cameron on and Curtis Findlay and Connor Barr, and then straight away you're winning every game and you're going to win the league. I'm not saying that, but I would rather see guys that got coming on and busting the gut, just than seeing the same players getting the same chances and doing fuck all, basically, if we're being honest, Scott.
I mean, if Lyle Cameron's fit, then he should be given playing time just to see what he's got, because we've not seen it at all, and we've only seen glimpses. And we've seen it in a European game away. We've seen it in bits here and there, but let's say he has been injured. He has some personal stuff, and then he got another injury. So, but he might offer us something different. He's not going to offer us anything less than what Asgard does at the moment, is he? To be honest with you. So, he can get a game midway apart with Connor Barron. And do you go with A2? Do you bring in Finlay Curtis and put him on the left hand side? Because Ant-Man's he's going to give you more than Ant-Man like Summer at the moment. I like Finlay, but you play him through middle, because I think Finlay's a very good finisher. So do you maybe play him through middle? Because he has taken his chances when he's been on the park, but previously, and he saved us in a few games and he scored in a few games. So why not give him a chance? Because what we're seeing at the moment isn't working. But you make wholesale changes and it doesn't work, he gets criticised. If he doesn't make wholesale changes, he's going to get criticised. But if Cameron's fit and Connor Barron's come in and done a reasonably good job, what he's trying to do, you can see he's fighting, you can see it annoys him when he loses the ball, you can see he wants to win things back, and you can see where he plays with energy, so you can tell he's actually trying, whereas some others you don't. And I thought when Finlay came on the weekend, he didn't get a lot, very difficult to get involved in the match with 15 minutes left. But he come on and he put a wee bit of energy in as well, so why not start him? I would say why not, but obviously he sees him in training, and I know when you're playing training, it can be different for playing a game, and some players look good in training, some players don't. But I would give the boys a chance just to see what they can do. I mean, Dundee United and Manchester United's going to be difficult, but Lyle Cameron's played them before. Finlay Curtis knows him. Conor Barron knows him. So it's not going to be like, wow, this is Dundee United. They sit with a low block, whatever they sit. Discipline. The three of them know how they play. So why not play them? Because Raskin's been struggling. Diamandi's been struggling. And they've not been offering any more than Barron's been doing. Barron's probably been the best out of a bad bunch. And then if Cameron plays, he's got a point to prove as well. To just say, well, I'm here. I should be playing. Because I can do this and I can do that. Whereas he's struggling with A and B, whereas I can do A and B. Because to me, Asgard, he looks pretty in the ball. He's got a physique. He's quite a powerful looking chap, but he's got a heart of a mouse and he's terrified to make mistakes. So whereas Lyle Cameron's smaller, more energetic, and I don't think he really gives a toss and makes a mistake or not. I just want players in the Pat William who take a risk. See, try to play the through ball or try to beat something. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least they're trying it. But see, this non-risk football, it's doing your nothing because that's why we're not creating. And we're doing it that much, teams pick on it and then they pick us off. At Falkirk tried to do a few times when you've got guys like Jigger at the back, or Aidens at the back, or Jack Butland struggling to kick the ball at times. So you have to play in the front foot, and we're not. We're just playing in no foot. We're playing very comfortable football, so we don't concede rather than playing football where we want to win.
Yeah, and it's so lethargic as well, isn't it? There's just, like I was looking at one of the things yesterday, of like the last 15, 20 minutes, I think we took Barron off, and the same as in the game against the European game there against Braga. And both times when Barron came off, I thought that was Rangers done. The midfield then was, because anyone that was running about being a nuisance, which was Barron, all your legs sort of went out, and it was the same thing yesterday. But the thing what annoys me too about this Rangers team, no matter where a throw-in goes out, no matter where the corner kicks are, no matter where the free kicks are, it's Tav coming over to take them. The girl was one yesterday. The ball went out. Now, we needed to win. I mean, it was about 10 minutes to go. Tav was nowhere near the ball, and everybody waited for Tav to trot. I'll go over, we throw in, I'll go over and do my stuff. I'll rub it off my t-shirt and throw it in. You should have someone else in the middle. Whoever's closest to that should be saying, fuck you, you move out of the road. And you're already getting the ball and throwing it in. We need to win today. But there's that urgency isn't even there. They don't even think about things like that. They'll just sit back and they'll go, oh, it's Tav's throw in. But there's nobody there with the initiative to go in on themselves and go, right, I need to, do you know what I mean? And it's things like that, Scott, when you're watching it, and that's fucking, there's times we lost the ball in the midfield, and obviously Falkirk were then going on the counter, and you were looking at boys in the midfield, and anyone that was from the defence who was maybe went forward when we got counter, and none of them were busting they were just trotting, just waiting to see what happens, and you're going, and I think that's when people's watching that, Scott, I think that's what's pissing people off even more, because you can take losing, you can take drawing matches, but the whole lethargic thing with this team, the zero interest, I think that's what's hurting people the most. It's people like yourself who go into the matches sitting there freezing cold, and you're just looking at people just not giving you anything. You can't, and the fans get the stick. These players a few times have come out and said it's a tough place to play, Ibrox. If the fans were just with us. The Levy game last week, they scored in the first 10 minutes. The fans were up for it. Happy days, here we go, good game. They didn't fucking show us anything straight after that. They're going to blame the fans on that one. These players, they always want to point and pick on someone. Normally, it's the managers get it. Failwell's got it. Every there's always someone to get it. I think focus needs to be on these players big time. They don't get me wrong. Danny Roll at times, probably has give players too much. I wouldn't have had Asgard starting that match yesterday. I wouldn't have had Antman near that pitch yesterday. Honestly, I would have been playing a few of the Scottish guys. But that's nitpicking. But these guys on this pitch, seriously, the focus has to be on them, Scott, doesn't it? It's these that are letting us down time and time again.
But see, yesterday, well, see, starting 11, I know a lot of folks slated him, but I think he changed it enough to say, right, I've got guys who are playing here. The international footballers, you've got Ant-Man who plays with Finland, you've got Miovski who plays with, who's he? Macedonia or something, and you've got Brahmi who's been in and out of, can't remember the country he plays with, but I set international players in your forward line, right? And you're playing Falkirk at home, that should be enough to beat Falkirk. Do you know what I mean? So he gets slated for that, but I thought he changed it to try and give us more energy. I mean, we're all been crying out. We've seen what that man done when he first came through the door. We've seen what that man done in Belgium. We've seen what he does with his international team. Yet when he comes to, don't get me wrong, I think sometimes he gives him the ball far too late. To me, that man, I could be wrong, but he's a bit like one of these guys who he wants the ball over the top, turn onto it. He doesn't like the ball with his back to goal. And he doesn't really like tight spaces because he can run into traffic. But see if you give him a ball just to chase, but he doesn't have to think too much, I think you put into his game. But when he's playing in front of Tav surrounds him, and you're playing the tappy, I don't think that suits that man. So I think he struggles with that kind of football. Gisama, what I said there, I think he thought to deceive myself. I think he's a one-trick pony. I think he's struggling. He's finishing. He's still young. And I think he goes down far too easy. And I think if he continues to go down far too easy, that gets picked up on with referees. And then the next minute he does get crunched, and you think, well, that's a penalty. The ref's like, oh, no, he's a diver. I'm not giving him so tall, do you know, that way. So I think he has to improve his finishing, but I do think there's something with Gisama. But he's still a young kid who came for a Sheffield Wednesday when they were struggling in and out. So they were a lot of times they were in the back foot and they broke teams on the break, which maybe suited him more. Whereas now we're trying to break down teams, and he struggles with that as well. But the team that started yesterday should have enough in it to beat Falkirk. Falkirk were well disciplined and they were structured, but that was it. But the Mattis Rangers, man for man, with more intensity, more aggression, and more fight, and that's why they got the point. It wasn't because of the formation or the starting 11 or who. It was because, man for man, they wanted it more than we did. And that's down to the players, it's not down to the manager. And then, yeah, you can say the manager shouldn't be picking these guys, but people asked for a change and they changed it. I mean, all these players they put in cost us a lot of money. They're all international footballers. Yeah, part of it maybe Barami getting plaudits for doing reasonably well. The other two were struggling, but not just they two, the two behind them, apart from maybe Connor Barron, and you've got a defence who struggle constantly. There's nothing in the team. I mean, I can say to you, look at that squad of players, you pick 11 who you think would win, and you think, right, I can put him in, and then you start to say, like, he's been before, but he struggled. He's been before, and he struggled. And even if you go to the park, Cal might go into a park on Wednesday night and say, I want to do this and I want to do that. But then all the other players around about him start to bring him back down to the way they play because he's making the forward runs and nobody's picking him out because we don't pass forward. We pass sideways or backwards. It's like when that man came in against Livingston, you watch the Livingston game, like, that man made runs constantly into space and not one person done a long diagonal to him with a long bottom. Everything was sideways. So he stopped making the runs now because he's
That's true.
what's the point of running? Because nobody passes to me. So it's going through the full team.
But they're all scared. You see, they're shit scared to do that long ball. Instead, they're shit scared of, fuck, if I do this, everyone knows I've done this and I'm going to get the grief for it. Instead of just having the confidence yourself going, fuck, and I'm going to hit one, and let the likes of Atman run on it, and then, as you say, they're probably pissed off too. But what did you think of the manager's comments towards the end, Scott, or afterwards in the press conference? I think he sort of alluded to it. He was asked a few different questions about January and stuff, and I think he, in there and thereabouts, if you read into it, like he was sort of open to going, look, there's players that are running out of chances, basically, and look, come January, we definitely need improvements. But I really hope we don't go for any of these. I know we're trying to buy young to sell in 2 or 3 years, but fuck me, we need experience in that team. And I'm not talking about experience, 10 million here from him. Or, we just need guys that have been over the course, that are decent at their, in their positions and know how to win football matches, you know what I mean? But your guys that are maybe in your late 20s, early 30s, guys that have done it, but we don't have enough of them in our team. And the only experienced players we do have is players with fucking bad experience.
I mean, when Gerrard was here, I hate looking back because there's no point, but I would say when Gerrard was here, we brought in Davis, Arfield and McGregor, and that was a bit of experience and know-how. And he maybe brought in a couple of younger lads as well, but he brought in guys who know they were up for the fight and who would get the rest of the players be scruffing neck and say, no, you're no shirking out in the tackles, you're putting a shift in the day. We've not got that. If a leader group's Tavernier involved in it, then you're not going to get that off anybody. I mean, Tav shouts at people, he does, but they'll probably just say, it's only Tav, do you know what I mean? He shouts at somebody and makes the same mistake. I think we need another rebuild, but I'm fed up with rebuilds because it's always rebuild after rebuild after rebuild. So we're never moving forward. We're just stagnating year after year. And you've got them at a road who are having issues at AGMs and stuff. But their board know, William, they only need a half decent side and they win the league because we're awful and the rest of the teams are just the same. Do you know that way? So they don't
Mm-hmm.
have to spend money to win the league because there's no really any competition for them. So I think Daniel knows what players he can trust to a point. He knows what players aren't good enough, but he's still got a couple injuries as well. And Ramos Suter's biggest fan, but you miss him because at least John can play that long ball,
Mm-hmm.
whereas nobody else centre backs can. Even
Yeah.
Tav stopped doing it, but John can play that long ball at times, and that's what we miss. And Aaron's his contract should be terminated, his loan should be terminated in January, so should others. But I know there's a lot of penalties involved in loan deals getting terminated early. You willing to take the penalties? The bonus fee, yeah, I would be. I don't think any of them offering it. Maybe a part for me came out, but we don't know when he's going to be fit again. Because I don't know what
Yeah.
injury is. He just was playing well and he got injured. So I don't know if it's a bad injury or because Canio's didn't look a bad injury, but he's out for a while. Suter's out for a while. So he has injury problems. So people are saying drop Giga, that's fine. But you play Tav in the centre and then you have to play Aarons at fullback and you bring back Mahoma, like I said, who you don't know if he's been told to leave him out, you don't know if he's struggling. And that's a problem with only having one left back. So he's got a lot of issues as well. So there's a lot of guys he probably doesn't want to play William, but he's probably having to play just because of lack of numbers.
Yeah. No, it's a tough predicament. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's very frustrating, and us as fans, like I say, we want to win matches, of course we do, what I mean, but we definitely want to see a bit of heart on that pitch, and hopefully we get the right players in. But I want to see players. I want us to be working on that now. That needs to be 1st of January. I want us fucking not, having players coming in, and at the end of the day. We can say that's hard to do. Them lot across the city done it a couple of years ago with Ange, and straight away they just breathe breath of fresh air into their team, and it can happen. And I know we can't spend it is a hard window to buy as well because people don't want to let go of players and stuff. But fuck me, we have to. But the one thing that worries me, Scott, as well, if you look at the financial numbers for what was 14 million we'd lost, but with 30 million cash flow in the bank because of the owners. That do you think of the amount of wastage though for next year? No wins in Europe where you get your bonuses. We're not going to qualify for the next round. We're seeing Ibrox getting empty, more and more every week. So your extra pies and your all the things you get when you're at the match. The same as the European when we're at the European games. There's people just not buying the packages. There's a load of people have been cancelling their continuous credit schemes and stuff. So plus now we have to be again spending a lot of money to try and get ourselves out of this mess, and we're going to struggle to get rid of a lot of these players. Like, can you see anyone coming in and giving us anywhere near close to 8 million for Jimmy?
To be honest with you, but I think Jimmy's one of these guys we're just going to have to keep for a while. I don't know how long, but I don't think he'll be away anytime soon because I think it's too much a risk to try and sell him now because you're going to lose a lot of money on him. And I think his hold up play is actually not too bad, William, but he's no an out and out striker for me. He always wants to take a touch.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's still learning the game. I mean, he plays with Portugal under 21, so obviously somebody sees something about him. And I'm not saying every international player is a good player, but when you play at that level, you must have a wee bit of something. But like I said earlier, it's a big ask for that young lad to come in and improve us because he's not played enough games anywhere. And he suddenly get told you're going to be Rangers starting number 9 because you cost this much. That's a heavy weight on that young kid because he, he's not scored many goals in the last couple of years. He's not played many minutes in the last couple of years. And because he gets signed for that money, we expect that. But he's still down here learning the game. And it was a
Mm-hmm.
move we should never have made. But that's, like I say, that's not his fault. That's Thelwell and making the big brown envelope stuff. But like I say, when you lose, the 3 players we lost, but that's a lot of goals. And nobody stepped up to the mark. None of the strikers are stepping up. None of the midfielders are stepping up. None of the wingers are stepping up. There's nobody stepping up offensively. So we are struggling. And then at the back, we're always like to concede at times, but the defence has improved, to be fair, since Danny Rule has come in. But the forward, we've not. But I just don't want the fans to turn on the manager. I think it's too early. Listen, I came sitting here in the summer saying I've had enough of Danny Rule. I think we should go somewhere else.
And then everyone will clip this and send it to you.
That's the moment in time. I think it's too early to judge him considering the squad of players he's been given at his disposal. Because I think manager more experienced than him will struggle with that squad of players. I
Yeah,
think we've got a very, very poor squad of footballers. And on paper, they look decent, experience wise. Where they, how much, I'm not saying how much it cost, but how many games they've played amongst them all at national football, you think that's a decent squad of players. But for our own domestic football, they're awful. And it's like, I don't know why. Tough to ask them all individually, as in, remember Bill saying he sat and looked him in the eye. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of players here we want rid of, but we can't get rid of 22, 24 players in one or two windows. It's impossible. The only ones you could get rid of is the loan players. But if you do that, then you're having to maybe use some of the kids. And are the kids good enough? Would the fans be happy with that, William, if they played the kids and we get hammered? Because there'll be folks saying, well, why did you pull these kids and we're getting hammered? So it's like I said earlier, it's a double-edged sword. The manager doesn't really know where to go. He's just hoping he can get another couple of results and get to January, maybe sign one or two guys who know what he wants, and he might say they might come in and make a slight difference. Because the league's not great with any team. Nobody in the league looks good. But Celtic are probably the best at a bad bunch. Hearts have hit a slope. And we've not hit any slope because we've not been up the slope. We've just always been like that level. We've just been level across it. We've not been up and higher. You know what I mean? We're just playing football for the sake of playing football at times. But I don't know. I feel sorry for him. I have to say. I think if Gerard came in or Muscat came in, I think they would have the same problems no matter who it is. Gerard is vastly overrated as a manager, in my opinion. But I took him back just because it's Steven Gerrard. But I think even if he was there, he would be saying to himself, "What the hell have I got here?" Because
yeah,
I'm telling me to do something, they're all looking at me dumbfounded. What do you mean, Gaff? I think that's the way some of them are.
yeah. Just quickly, there's a Curry is asking when where'd you get the throw? It was actually my mother bought me that. I don't actually know, but I will find out. I will ask her and I will find out. And if you message our Facebook page, I'll send you the wee link, mate. If you just ask, and if you just send us a wee Facebook message, because obviously I'll not know what your name is on Facebook. I'm sure it's not Curry Muncher anyway. So whatever you message us, I'll get you that wee link sent, buddy. I'll find out where she got me that from. Let me see. And just quickly as well, anyone just before we've got about 15 minutes to go, but just quickly one last time, anyone who wants to become a member. So for the month just before Christmas here, next week or two, if anyone becomes a member between now and then, we've got newbie shirts made up, and we're going to be giving out one to a wee raffle for anyone that becomes a member, and you'll get whatever shirt you want with a wee red hand on the back as well, and whatever size. But we'll do a raffle. Like me and Baz will do one live pretty soon, and that's for anyone that becomes a member. But like best mom ever. You're right, mama's boy, correct. Yeah, you're 100%. And she's probably watching right now. She's my biggest supporter. But you get some slag when you're doing these things, don't you, Scotty? But yeah, mate. That's to say, I think it's because I didn't want to come on the show all down because I think I'm actually that's out of me now. If you get what I'm saying, I think I've come to the fact where what is probably worse is the hope's gone for me. As I say, the Falkirk game, as I said to you earlier, anyone's listening from the start, I sort of I got was what I was expecting before it even started. And I think that's where we are now. It's more apathy than that. There's not even anger there. Though, if you look at the last 15 minutes, Celtic had won just before. Hearts had actually dropped points, so we really needed. It was a great time for us to win, and get ourselves up there. And even Ibrox, there wasn't that roar of "come on," the last 15 minutes and get it going. That we need this goal. Everybody in that stadium, everybody watching, and even if I'm being honest, the players themselves just thought it's not going to happen today. And that's a bad position when you're in that situation, Scott.
I think because we've all seen it before so many times. I think you said apathy set in, and we've all seen it before. And just with this squad of players, I know there's a few new players there this season, but I think just in general we know what they can and cannot do. And I just hope Daniel Rule gets a enough time to bring in some guys and we can judge him on his own merits instead of judge him on somebody else's merits, as in not his players. Because it's tough. It's a tough ask for him. He probably is at Sheffield Wednesday been going through a really bad time, and he's probably thought it can't get any worse than that. And we're like that. Hold on a minute. Come to Rangers. You're worse than that.
Hold my beer.
You think that's a shit show? Welcome to Ibrox. Do you know what I mean?
Oh.
I think he's probably thinking why, but no. I just think if we can judge him, maybe hopefully still there come the end of the season. Cause I know what football fans like, not just our fans, every fans. It's results matter, and if you start, we've got to do 3 already, and if you think results are the improvement between now and the end of the season, we do finish like third, fourth, whatever. Fans be like, he's not good enough. I want a new manager, and then you'll be back to square one again. And I mean, we do need a calibre of better players, but like I said earlier, the calibre of the players, the could be going down just depending on how much you've got to spend. But money to me doesn't matter. It's getting the right fitter players, but it's getting guys who want to come because we're not an attractive proposition for a lot of players anymore. We're a big name, William, still, but we're not an attractive proposition. I mean, people look back over the European one the last few seasons and think I could go and do that. But this season we've been awful in Europe. And the league were awful. So there's guys out there thinking, I need to go and maybe I want to play here, I play there. But coming to a club at Rangers and you've got some of these guys saying you get abused with the crowd, they don't like it, fans your back. And if they go back down to wherever they came from and start saying that and it gets about the other players, are like, right, you said earlier, do I want to take that abuse? Or will I go somewhere else and earn the same amount of money, and if I get a draw or we get beat, I'm going to go home up the road and not be bothered about it, or do I get abuse off a few thousand people every second week or every, do you know what I mean, just because I'm wearing that shirt for that club. So football's changed from when we knew it, and do you know what I mean, William? And I don't think players are that way inclined anymore. It's like I said to you before we come on, it's more a job to them than it is anything else. They all play football because they're interested in the sport and it starts out they play for fun. But then they play to see how much money they can make and at certain levels. And I just hope we can bring in guys who have a bit of fight, because unless you look at the Scottish market for that, you do, but sometimes we don't pick the right players. There's a few players in Scotland that we still go for, but it depends if we can get them, because clubs don't like us selling players to us, do they? So, I mean, Boy Watson at Kilmarnock, I like him, but I know he's a Celtic fan by all accounts, so I don't know if he would come to us. Sometimes that stops players, sometimes it doesn't. And I just thought maybe looks further afield, like Klopp and Dad. I know he looked at further afield, and Jeffy wasn't great, right? We all realised that, but he had something in his game. He could get forward, he could put the odd cross in at times. Defensively was poor, but if you say to me now, you take Hefty back, or do you want to keep what you've got? You take Hefty back in a minute. And he wasn't the greatest when he was here. That's what I mean. We look at players we've had before, Hefty, Dessers, and we criticise them a lot. And then they leave and we bring in other guys, and you think, sometimes you don't realise what you've got until you've not got it anymore, William. And that's just story of being a Rangers fan. We criticise folk, they leave, and then we bring in somebody else and think, oh, he will be a lot better. And they're not. And Cherney was the same. I just kept Cherney, but obviously we thought bring in somebody younger and fitter. But Cherney gave us what he did. Seema gave us what he did. And 2 successful loan signings this season. We signed guys on loan who don't seem up for the fight. The only one that does now is Mikey Moore. But when he first came in, he was getting criticised as well because people said he wasn't good enough. So you've got that. Because under Martin, he was put out of position, and then Danny will come in and he plays a wee bit better. So it's like every game's different as a football fan. We could win 3-0 Wednesday night and people say, that's us back in it, or we bit of confidence, or we get beat again. It's more doom and gloom. It's just the life of being a Rangers fan, I'm afraid, at this moment in time.
So I'll ask you this, because we're coming to the last 5 minutes, and anyone in the comments, just put a yes or a no. This could be the worst idea ever, but I'm thinking the likes of Scott. We'd not be able to sort everything in January because we won't have the money to go and do it. But the likes of a Gogic there from St Mirren, they go in January, even to do it for 6 months or whatever, give them a couple of years. Would that not be better than the likes of a Giga that's coming up the road, 10 million that Wolves paid for him on loan? People that know the league know what it's all about, and at least he gets some fight in them. We had the likes of Shanklin as well. Could have got him for a free. We turned our nose up at him. He's scoring goals to put Scotland in the World Cup, and Rangers can't get Rangers spend £8 million on a player that hasn't scored a goal in 2 years. He scored one now in 2.5 years. Would it not have been worth looking the likes of these players in Scotland rather than all this money wasted on prima donnas down the English division?
It was, yeah, and Shankland was a no-brainer for me. He always has been, but for some reason, Clement didn't want him, and then obviously Martin didn't want him either. But Thelwood didn't want him. Gorgic, I like. Would someone want a lot of money? They probably would. Does he have his limitations as well? He does. He has his limitations. Basically, we only see when he plays against us, and he always looks decent. But he made a cock up on Saturday against Dundee. I was watching the highlights, and he didn't look great against Dundee. But is he better than what we've got? Probably is. To be honest with you, I think he is better than what we've got. So would he give us a bit of fight and dig? He would. It would be hard, but he would give us that. But you don't know how much someone would want from him. I don't know the length of his contract.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? But sometimes you're better bringing in guys who you say who'll give you a year, year and a half, 2 years at the most, and then you can build on that instead of bringing in young guys who just have no clue about Scottish football and no clue about Rangers. At least Gogic knows the league, he knows us, and I say he might have his limitations, but his limitations are better than what we've got because he knows how to defend and he knows how to kick folk.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. Because we all know we're honest here. We're watching. We're at the end of the day, we love Rangers, of course we do. But if we're being honest, the Scottish League is different than most other leagues you'll watch. It's a complete. I'm not even talking about standards. I'm just talking about it's like a complete different game at times. It's all about fight and determination. And if you've got a bunch of guys that's worrying more about their headband or their braided hair or how big their shin pads are, or if their socks are rolled down. See, in Scotland, those guys you're playing against week in, week out just fucking want to fight. Like, I'll watch the Scottish Championship on a Friday. I love watching those games because it's fucking blood and thunder. Everyone's going for it at all times. And these guys just can't hack. I remember an interview Ray Wilkins done years ago, and he went up to Graham Souness and Walter, and he was like, "I'm never going to be." He came in first couple of games. He goes, "No, I'm never going to make it here." He says, "I can't play. This is crazy." He says, "What is this?" And Souness Noel says, "Look, give it 6 months. You'll be fine. You'll get used to it. It's a bit chaotic at the start, but you'll get." And obviously, as Ray Wilkins was world class, of course he was going to get used to it. But it's just a different. It is a complete different ball game. And we always look for these silky players or whoever do the odd thing down in England. Think, oh, they're easy. They'll hammer them boys and Scott. It never happens, mate. I think we need to be looking more in ourselves. Stop being so snobbery about Scottish football. Like, I'm thinking of Walter Smith's greatest teams. I'm thinking of Graham Souness's greatest teams. I'm thinking of Alex McLeish's teams. They always had a core of players. Yes, they had sprinkled in these players in and around that, but they had their core of fighters that made the team up. And even Walter in his second tenure was the same. Give me Davy Weir now. Give me Yuki Akio. Give me these big guys that know how to and that's something that we're lacking and something that we're going to seriously have to look at come January. Because I think if we waste too much money on these guys again, same sort of players, mate, I think we're going to get the same results.
No, well, when you mentioned that, even remember Clint Hull came, and Clint Hull was ideal for the Scottish game. He was just a bit old when we signed him as well. And you've got Nacho Novo. Nacho wasn't the most finesse player, but he tries so much. Nacho, he could score goals, but he never stopped working, no matter who we were up against, and it didn't cost much. And he knew the game coming for Dundee. And we just need guys who are willing to put up a fight, William. Doesn't matter what else, it's somebody who's willing to fight for the jersey. And if they can work faster than their opponent, work faster, work harder than their opponent, and be stronger than their opponent, then you've got a chance. There's no point in having all the talent in the world, but you're standing there thinking, I can't be asked. Because, as you say, talent doesn't beat hard work. Hard work beats talent. And Asgard can look sulky, can flick and trick and do all this, but when somebody's running full pelt at him, he's like, no way, I'm getting out of the road of that. I want part of that. And that's what we need. So if you want to look at the Scottish players, fair enough, you look at that. But they go down when they go down this way, they do football nowadays, they go down this analysing the stats, and some of these players don't come up in that just because of the way they play, because of games like that. Players like how good they are technically, their touches, all this different stuff comes up on these analytic stuff, and guys like maybe Conor Barry and that when they come up as much because it is a bit blood and thunder with some of their play. Whereas I would take that a lot of 7 days a week over some other players just because that's Scottish football. Scottish football is very hard. I know Hearts are signing a few and people said they look sulky and stuff, and they did when they first came in. But now people are getting used to how they're playing, as you've seen with the boy at Sawinger
Hmm.
and the boy up front, and they're not getting as much time in the ball as they were at the start when they first came in, and people are crunching them, getting through them, double marking them, and they're starting to struggle. When you watch
Yeah,
actually Motherwell kind of outplayed them at times, and Motherwell more physical and more stronger because these guys they're good on the ball, but it's off the ball or stuff like that. Motherwell players were fighting more and more aggressive, and they'll find it difficult because that's the way these things go. And I think we're the same. We're bringing in guys like Rothwell look really good in England, but up in Scotland, he's pulling a caravan, my man runs, and you're
yeah,
not going to get away with that. So I just hope the manager realises that, and he goes maybe with some of the players we've got, like you said, Cameron, Curtis, uh, obviously Barry's been playing well, just to see how we go. I mean, I know Robbie Fraser's away now, and I'd have kept Robbie from that year because we've only got one left back in Mahoma, who's done really well, I have to say. But the boy can't play every week. I think he only played about 18, 19 games before last season with Preston. And he's probably played that now or maybe more because of European games. So maybe that's how he's been told to rest him. Like I said earlier, we don't know. So he's having to play Aaron's at left back, which doesn't work for me. But he's not getting
yeah,
anybody else coming through the academy because we've only got one recognised left back in this. So the squad's very. We've got a few midfielders, we've got a few front men, but at the back, apart from the lone players, the guys out of contract, we've only got Big Fernandez there, Ciala, who's still out of the
yeah,
picture, but Tav's out of contract, Sutter's out of contract, and apart from Fernandez and Ciala, the rest are loan players. So where do you go next season? Do you know
yeah,
that way? So it's not just this season, it's further afield, and it's been very, very badly worked with Thelwell and his staff and Stuart for letting that happen. But it's on the owners as well. They've put a lot of money in, which we thank them for. They bought the club, which we thank them for. But they made their balls up in the first 6 months of winning Rangers.
aye, no, there's no doubt about it. Yep, 100%. Well, a good way to end it. At the end of the day, we are the people, and that is the truth. But unfortunately, we'll just limp on to January. Hopefully, everything gets sorted. But we know it's going to be tough. But we have to hope for the best. But more importantly, as I say, we're going off here soon. Uh, but Scotty, you are back on this evening, mate. So anyone that is watching who hasn't actually seen your podcast, mate, do you want to let them know what you're all about and where to get you and what time you're on tonight?
Yeah, not another Rangers podcast. I know there's a lot of Rangers podcasts in there, William. Far too many Rangers podcasts, and we all just talk the same
Use
stuff. But
use are well named. Use are well named.
I know. We're on at 8:30 tonight. Probably just me. I think it's just myself and Gary just going over the same stuff that me and Molly spoke about. Hopefully do it a different way because Gary's in charge. So if anybody wants to join us at 8:30, we'd be delighted. If not, you can catch us another time. But we're on every Monday at 8:30 and every Friday at 8:30.
There you go. Well, anyone that wants to watch it later, or I know a lot of people watch things the next day. I do the same. Sometimes I let all the pods build up because I drive for a living. So what I'll do is not watch any, and then my full pod list I just put it through the car. It keeps me going, and I don't know why I do it to myself because it's fucking torture what listening about. But I'm just interested in everybody else's points because sometimes I learn a lot too from other guys and of what other guys are thinking too, and they bring things up, and I'm like, fuck yeah, well, that's a good point. So it's all the pods are really really good,
See, I do
and
that as well, William. I listen to a lot of it in the work because I'm sat on computers all day and see me do that. But see how there's a lot of pods talking about the same thing, but there's so many different opinions. It's
mm-hmm.
amazing how many people think differently. It's not just one or two ways. It's so many different ways, opinions about players, tactics, about this and about that, and you think so many different stuff on the one thing. How can that happen? I just sometimes you listen to maybe a few and you're thinking everybody's saying different stuff. So, and then some people say what
Yeah,
you see and you're quite happy about that, but other people say differently. And you're like, "Oh, I don't agree with that," and then that way. But it's good to
yeah,
hear because it's just in the day, it's all opinion. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It's just our opinion because we all want Rangers at the end of the day to do well, which at this moment, sadly, we're not.
yeah. No, that's just it, and everyone, and that's what it's all about. And the same as the guys in the comments and the girls as well, right? And there's a lot of different people think different, but everyone's always very respectful, which that's all you want. You know what I mean? You're just having chat with people. It's football. You'll never be right. You'll never be wrong. Referees can't even agree. I think if you look at that boot to the head, I mean, there was two says it was a red card, one says it wasn't. You've got the one that runs. It's a complete. It just doesn't matter what it is in football, no matter what challenge it is, or you'll look at it one way, someone else will look at it different. That's just the way it is. But anyway, listen, everyone, thank you for coming on. I think Barry's going to try and come on with me on Friday. I think anyway, he's going to try and get free on Friday to come on. But listen, thank you for joining us. And if you're still up and about, watch Scotty and Not an Rangers podcast at 8:30 because it's always great crack and it's always good banter, and I'll be watching it myself to see what the guys are saying. But they're just a great wee team together, and they have me in stitches. Anytime I've been on the show as well, they're a great bunch of lads, so you will have fun, you'll enjoy it. So please watch them as well, and we will hopefully be with you on Friday, and if not, it'll be on our normal Monday. So thank you for watching. We appreciate it, guys.